just a bloke in a bar.
So what was the reason for moving from Lebanon to Australia? Just a better life? Because I know there was some issues there in the 80s. I think there was a few issues. Was that the reason? Or just
look, there's always issues, unfortunately. Lebanon, I've always described it as the backyard for all wars. Anybody that wants to have a war or disagreement, they just let's meet you. I'll meet you in Lebanon for some reason. So I do feel for the people. There's just survivors and trying to make a living and look after their families. For us, we actually arrived on a refugee visa. A lot of people don't know that. So, we sort of applied for it, and we waited a lot of times, and until, as I said, we got the go-ahead. 5 kids. My sister was born in Australia 2 years later, so 6 kids, 3 boys and 3 girls. Really tough. Even when we arrived here, we arrived actually in the middle of a recession in Australia. Interest rates were 17-something%, and trying to... And I think you had to have a sponsor for about 6 months, so we couldn't even get paid from like Centrelink or anything like that. So we sought help from the Salvation Army, the Smith family, other the Lebanese organisations, and so. The first 6 months, very, very testing time, and 2-bedroom unit. As I said, 6 kids. We had bunk beds everywhere and all that, and just trying to survive. But the good thing about that, bro, is that you know the value of life. You have respect now for what you have, and that's the thing that you're trying to pass on to the next generation and your kids and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm guilty of it too. There's so many countries that have these beautiful long histories that we don't have outside of the indigenous people, because obviously they have a really long history. But
absolutely.
But there's these beautiful countries that get just pulled apart by corruption and all that kind of stuff, and so because I've never experienced it, I think that life is just like this normally. Like you go to school, and if your mum can go and dad can get a normal job and everything's fine, whereas there are countries genuinely where you can work your ass off and get nothing.
And that's what it is, man. For some of the viewers there that don't know, for example, till this day, Lebanon don't have 24 hours of electricity. They don't, because it's all politically, there's an agenda for everything, so you might get it 5 to 8 hours a day sometimes, so you could be in the lift going up, and then all of a sudden you're stuck there for a few hours. Even the water sometimes, they struggle to get flow with the water and that, it's tough, and everything is sort of either someone's got their hands on, and they certain taxes and all that. So look, from a political point of view, there's a lot of agendas there.
A lot of moving, different factions vying for power, all that kind of. I mean, it's just it's so sad, because that area of the world is such a rich, beautiful history, and
Beirut used to be called the Paris of the Middle East. Unfortunately, look, and when you go to Lebanon, you actually, especially in particular in certain seasons, and that sometimes you could be up in the mountains where there's snow, and you could be down in the water, actually some swimming. So they're about an hour and a half, but just the climate changes, and it's a wonderful place to be around, and it is tough because of financially. So they do rely on a lot of actually help through their relatives and all that, in particular in Australia, Brazil, and all that, so they're highly populated with Lebanese people.
It's like a world that we're just being born and raised here, you're just not aware of, kind of thing. So when you got here, as a refugee, and you get there first 6 months, could you speak English yet or no?
I spoke a bit of French, in Lebanon at the time it was mainly French and Arabic. English, unless you went to a private selective school and all that, spoke a little bit of French.
What was that first 6 months like? Because did you say 12?
Yeah, I arrived halfway through year 6.
Halfway through year 6.
So
was that first period like? Was it tough?
It was tough. Look, but what helped is that you went to a school in Hampden Park Public School where predominantly there was a lot of Lebanese people, Arabic speaking. So it helps you a little bit.
Absolutely.
Again, the counsellor there that spoke Arabic, even at Belmore Boys High School, for example, helped us a lot. She saw that my parents and that we're all struggling to even pay the fees, so they actually dismissed a lot of that, helped my mum apply for certain grants to be able to sort of help us pay for uniforms, pay for sort of
so it was really tough,
certain
really
essentials.
Tough.
Absolutely. We arrived in Australia in debt actually. So so we just had enough for the tickets. When we arrived here, we couldn't just shuck over anybody's place because you got 5 kids. So therefore my uncles put together for us a few furniture in a unit, so obviously we had to pay all that back. So and borrowing a little bit more for the tickets, although we sold everything overseas. But
so your parents basically are selling everything. We need to leave this country. Australia's a land of opportunity. Obviously we still have our own issues.
Look, we did have 2 uncles and an auntie here, so and obviously they spoke very highly of Australia and how good it is and all that. So and my dad, look, he was open for the ID and he applied. I've got another auntie in Canada. We actually applied there. We almost went to Canada as well. But but Australia was the way we
were going. Thank God it was. We would have been robbed of the great Haslam.
Oh yeah, ice hockey, mate. I got to find something.
Just a bloke in a bar.